You want to get high, man?
Let's stimulate your mind.
Get up, Chucky!
What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
Rojan Kim?
California dreaming.
Hello, and welcome to the Rojan Kim cast. It's me, Rojan Kim. Thank you for joining me this lovely October morning. How you doing? You feeling good? Feeling good like Ellen and George W. Bush hanging out in the box together watching hockey? Yeah. Hey, what does it matter? Ellen's like, hey, we gotta forgive, man. We gotta forgive. We gotta fucking move on. We gotta be positive. And then everybody else is like, he's a war criminal and over 1 million people are dead because of him. Well, guys, I think it comes down to it that, frankly, we love a war criminal, okay? We love our war criminals. I mean, when we find one out there, a war criminal, we'll say he's bad. We gotta do something. Nuremberg trials, Geneva Convention. But when it comes to our people, let's just go down the line. I mean, George W. Bush. One can say that he perpetuated an illegal war, which the UN told him not to do. And because of said war, there's over 1 million dead. We've got a nightmare in Syria. There's war going on in Syria right now between the Turks and the Kurds. Okay, Iraq is in flames. Protests everywhere, and not to mention the war that spread after that, brought to you by our next president, Barack Obama, who spread the war into Libya, Syria, Somalia, Yemen. Okay, so the rest of the whole area is now in flames because of Barack Obama. And all of those wars, none of those wars are legal either. No declaration of war, all drone wars. He also, Obama, droned an American citizen. Of course, yes, they were saying he was a propagandist for Al-Qaeda, and that's bad, right? He's bad. They killed him. Al-Qaeda. Then they killed his son, 16-year-old kid, because, he might have gotten revenge. He might have come up after his daddy. And I guess they just justified killing an American citizen overseas using terrorism, which they can use to justify taking all of our rights, according to the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, the writ of habeas corpus, due process. All of that can be suspended if you are deemed an enemy of the state. And that's what they used to kill, what's his name? Anwar al-Awlaki or something? That's his name. They killed him. American citizen. Could be you. Could be me. Right now it's okay because we're like, I ain't a muzz, right? I ain't a terror guy. I ain't a terrorist descent, right? Doesn't affect me. But remember there's that old poem, first they came for the socialists, but I was not one, And eventually they'll come for you. Eventually. One day. Maybe not. We'll see. Maybe you're lucky. Maybe you can play your cards right. And it'll be like, I'm the last one standing. Everybody else is in jail but me. Okay, good luck. Obama. Timber Sycamore. Google that. Timber Sycamore. Timber Sycamore was a little operation headed by the CIA where we armed the people fighting Assad in Syria. Guess what? Those people were Al-Qaeda and ISIS. So we were arming, remember Al-Qaeda, the guy who's propagandist we killed and drone striked and said that it was completely, it was legal because he was an enemy? Well, we were giving that same enemy weapons in Syria. Yeah? So, I don't know. Seems like treason. That seems treasonous. People be like, oh, Obama, are you accusing Obama of treason? No, Trump is treasonous, not Obama. I don't know. If you actually look at the definition of treason, just aiding and abetting the enemy combatant, Al-Qaeda. ISIS? Al-Qaeda. We were definitely enemies. Al-Qaeda did the towers. Remember the 9/11 thing that got us into the whole thing? That was Al-Qaeda. And then we killed their propagandist extra legally because we were like, it's Al-Qaeda. And then we started giving them weapons to fight Assad because Assad is Al-Qaeda? No, Assad is not Al-Qaeda. There's a whole thing with the pipeline. If you look into it, there's a thing with the pipeline, geopolitics with Russia and Iran. There's a lot of shit going on about it, but it has nothing to do with 9/11. Because if it did, why would we be giving arms to the organization that claimed credit for 9/11? Why would we do that? I don't know. It's either we're dumb or there's something farther bigger something larger, a sinister thing going on, a conspiracy perhaps. Or, I don't think that it has to be a binary thing, and I don't think it has to be like one thing or the other, like we have no idea or we know everything. Or it's sort of this gray area in between where perhaps what we have is a military-industrial complex. Hey, let's go even farther, because I learned that in Eisenhower's farewell speech. You listeners of mine are probably well aware of Eisenhower's farewell speech to America, where he warned the public about the military-industrial complex and the forever wars we would end up in if they were allowed to run things instead of the people. Well, here we are, almost 20 years into a forever war, dealing with contradictions like Timber Sycamore, right, where we gave weapons to our enemies in order for them to help us with some objective, some larger objective that has nothing to do with the original point of the war and has more to do with some kind of hegemonic, design. I don't know, some kind of thing. Perhaps simply more war. I mean, beyond the resources people are trying to get, oil, warm water port, just a strategic place, like right up against Turkey, right? Because Turkey is our NATO ally. Turkey is sort of like the NATO ally in the Middle East. So if you had Syria, that'd be kind of cool. A little check against Turkey, and that's what the U.S. did. We aided, because the other people fighting Assad were the Kurds from the north, and the Kurds are pretty fucked because they have no state of their own. So they're like in Iraq, they're in Turkey, they're in Syria, and every one of those countries hates them and doesn't want them to have an autonomous region, mostly for the fact that the Kurds hate them and have been striking at them. One could call them terrorists, others could call them freedom fighters. Right now, the U.S. is calling them freedom fighters because we helped them and armed them too. So not only did we arm Al-Qaeda, in some ways you can say, hey, it's not like really treason, is it, if you're just giving weapons to everybody, right? Willy-nilly. It's not like we're like, here, Al-Qaeda, our enemies, here's weapons. Maybe that's far more sinister than just being like, it's a weapons sale, everybody. If you're fighting Assad, we're selling weapons, And we armed the Kurds. And the Kurds did really well. They fucking got a corridor for themselves, right? Which, in turn, the Turkish president is calling a terrorist corridor and is now bombing the shit out of them. There is a full-on military assault going on by Turkey into Syrian soil, which Syria, I think, is allowing because it's really to put down the Kurds. Isn't this fucking complicated? And we're just fucking kicking this hornet's nest over and over and sticking our big fat nose into it and talking about, we must save the Kurds. We must save them. Really? Is that what happened? Well, what about in Iraq? Why didn't we save them there when they were all being murdered, right, by ISIS? I mean, they ended up having to fight. We armed them and we're like, hey, fight. Yeah, and we'll come and fight for you. And now that Turkey is bombing the shit out of them, where are we? Where are we? Are we fighting Turkey? We must save and protect our friends who helped us fight Assad. No, that's not happening. That is not happening. We were like, Turkey is a major NATO power. The Kurds are just indigenous ragtag group. They got spunk and spirit, but they don't really have anything. So, yeah, we're just gonna step out of the way, sorry. And of course right now everybody's blaming Trump. He pulled out of Syria, went against the Kurds. Trump, rah. That's when people are mad at Trump, when he pulls out of places, right? We're supposed to wind this thing down, and every time he does, people blame him and say he's a right? I don't know. I'm for winding down all these wars, because the only way to stop a forever war is to stop some of them piece by piece and hopefully get to no war, right? We got to get there somehow. And whenever you leave a conflict, there's inevitably going to be consequences, violent consequences. You start pulling out, the other side's going to start fucking people up, right? This is what happens in Iraq during Bush's time. We told the people to rise up. They're like, hey, rise up. Fucking first Bush's, HW and W, told them to rise up. They did. And then We didn't do anything to help these people. They all got squashed. So the first time was Saddam just fucked everybody. Kurds, too. I think that was part of it. You know, we told them to rise up. We had given them weapons. Rise up. And then they got squashed, right? We did that shit in Cuba. We are the Bay of Pigs. We armed all these rebels. We're like, rise up. The U.S. is going to back you. And then we were like, we didn't. And then they got fucked, right? And it just happens time and time again. This is sort of a weird foreign policy thing where we give them a bunch of guns. And then we're like, we'll back you guys once you get this shit started. And then they get the shit started. And then we're like, it's not a good time right now. Sorry, guys. And then what happens to them? They get fucked, right? Their own government fucks them up. And we're just like, ooh, sorry. You know, like Vietnam, same thing. I got Korea, right? Same thing. Over and over. Same thing. It's like you get the population to try to rise up. And then the population may or may not get crushed. And if it's convenient to the United States, we'll go in. And if it's not, we won't. Sorry, kids. Moving on. So Trump, on one hand, yes, I feel like, okay, he's trying to de-escalate in Syria. Of course, what that means is you're opening up opportunities for other parties with their interests. And the thing about Syria is that there's fucking a shitload of parties and interests, okay? You got your obvious ones. You got Assad, right? He wants to hold on to his country. But then you've got the anti-Assad factions. You know, you got a Free Syria faction. You got fucking ISIS, Al-Nusra Front, right? So like Al-Qaeda and shit. Right? You got the Kurds. You got Kurds in there. And there's a lot of other ethnic minorities that we're unaware of that probably don't like Assad. But then on Assad's side, you got yourself Russia, right? You got Turkey in there. Big powers. Iran possibly, right? But then on our side, we got Saudis, which is where the Al-Qaeda guys are coming from. And then you got us. You got CIA guys on the ground. It's a fucking mess. It's a fucking mess. And this is okay? Why are we even in Syria? Ask yourself that. Why are we back? Okay, so that's Syria. Now I'm going to talk about Yemen. It's like, oh God, here he goes talking about Yemen. Yeah, who talks about Yemen, huh? Who talks about Yemen? There's all George W. Bush and Ellen on screen. Impeachment, Trump, impeachment, Ukraine, Russia. What about Yemen, huh? We don't hear a goddamn thing about Yemen, and it is a fucking slaughter going on right now, man. They are fucking killing civilians, killing the fuck out of them. And you know what? The Houthis, these sort of indigenous, the rebel types, you know, just like the Kurds or whatever, just like the you know groups over and over around the world who are sort of fighting for their autonomy, who are being emboldened by one side or another. In this case, the Houthis are supposed to be supported by the Iranians. And if anything the Houthis do is blamed on Iran as a pretext to go to war with Iran, when, in fact, when you really look at it, it's a domestic issue. It's an issue on Yemen. It's an issue between Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, who are also in there, who are both united with each other against the so-called Houthi rebels, and also fighting amongst each other, right? You got your Houthi rebels, you got your Yemenis, right? And some of the Yemenis are compromised by the Saudi Arabians. It's very complicated when you start reading into it, but you can just see that it's just a very old conflict between, you know, Saudi Arabia and the country of Yemen, which is composed of many different tribes, one of them being the Houthis. And there's a whole Shiite and Sunni thing going on, which is why they're saying Iran is backing them, because Iran is the Shiite power in the area, and Saudi Arabia is the Sunni sort of main power in the area. And a lot of people feel the whole Middle East situation is really a proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran. And I think on some level there's some truth to that, which also leads to bizarre things like Israel aligning itself with Saudi Arabia, you know, because, you know, yes, war makes strange bedfellows, right? The enemy is my friend. So you got, I'm lost already. All I know is fucking crazy bloodbath. They're fucking hitting civilians. There's a terrible embargo going on. Kids are starving. This has been going on for years. Just Google it. Look it up. It's all there. It's just not being reported. But as soon as you look into Yemen, it's horrifying. It's horrifying. And guess what? Americans themselves aren't dying, but American weapons are being used in this war. You know, when a school gets drone striked from Saudi Arabia and they go through the wreckage, it fucking says "Made in America" on the missile. It's just like fucking Iron Man, okay? It's just Stark Industries on the goddamn missile, all right? And how do you think this... Apparently, a lot of Yemenis have a tribal culture where if somebody fucking kills your relative, you have a blood debt now. Now you have a blood debt, and you got to fucking fulfill that debt, or else no one's getting into heaven. No one can rest, right? And so this is an honor culture that seeks retribution. But what happens when there's no face to the enemy? What happens when the enemy is a shiny robot, 1,000 feet up, 10,000 feet up, shooting missiles at him? What happens then? Then you're like, fuck it, well, we got to take the whole motherfucking country down. Maybe we just go after all white people. I don't know. You start thinking crazy things, just making more enemies. Just like in Iraq. ISIS was created out of the vacuum that was made when we, took out Saddam. And ISIS started fighting Al-Qaeda because they were like, you're not doing it right. They start fighting each other, right? This is all that's happening, with our foreign policy. Right? Our foreign policy now, currently. So the one thing with Trump, right? Everybody's trying to impeach Trump. They're like, impeach Trump. The first they wanted to get him for Russia. The whole Russiagate thing. And I've gotten into plenty of arguments, plenty of discussions, just a lot of time spent on occasion with friends that I was really trying to be like, listen, I don't really know. Look, we don't know. We don't really know, right? We only know so much, but from what we know, there's no real compelling case that anything happened with this whole Russiagate thing. Nothing happened. I mean, seriously, nothing. The Mueller report, remember, the report dropped and everybody's like, ooh, something's going to happen. Nothing happened. So then they were like, maybe we should have a hearing. Then some shit, and then they try to get a hearing, try to get Mueller on a gotcha, try to be like, isn't it true that the president is totally guilty, but you can't convict him because he's a sitting president? And he was like, no, that's not. We couldn't find evidence of a crime. There's no crime. There's no crime. Nothing. Not a single person was arrested for collusion or anything to do with the investigation. The only people that got arrested were people who they said lied. It's for lying. It's for saying January instead of July. Like, seriously, one of them was for saying January instead of July after like a 4-hour interview. That means Trump Jr., that means the kid, they interviewed that fool for hours and got nothing. Couldn't even get him to lie. Okay? You know why? You know how that's easy? You know how it's easy to do that when because I don't think, from all I see of Trump Jr., he doesn't seem like fucking a genius. You know how you avoid jail? You just tell the truth. If you didn't do anything. If you didn't do anything and you just tell the truth, you can't really slip up. And they can't get you on anything. That's why they didn't. None of the family members are going to go to jail. About the family. Nope. Nothing. And now everybody's like, oh, it's because it's corrupt. Oh, the whole Mueller investigation, which everybody was saying is it's all coming, and they spent all this money, and it's coming, and there's nothing? Okay. So now what? Now where are we? Oh, they want to impeach Trump because of this phone call to Ukraine. Yeah, because he called Ukraine, and he was all like, what can you do for me? Quid pro quo, give me that, which is not at all what it is if you actually look at the transcripts, blah, blah, blah. Better people than I have discussed this. In fact, I urge you to check out the Jimmy Dore show and also Part of the Problem with Dave Smith, Scott Horton show, who else? All crazy right-wingers, right? Check out what Noam Chomsky's been saying about this shit. Yeah, crazy right-winger Noam Chomsky. Check out what he's been saying, why he doesn't believe the Russia shit. Because it doesn't make sense, right? The main reason is because Trump's in all this shit to be basically to fuck Russia, right? Including arming Ukraine, okay, who's an enemy of Russia, including the sanctions that he put on Russia that's hurting them economically. Children starving. Sanctions is really just kids starving, by the way. The fucking nuclear tree that he scrapped, which is actually bad for Russia, right? That means now we're in a new arms race. No good for him. Expanding NATO. Why we did that? Why are we doing that if we're colluding with Russia? It doesn't make any sense. And then why would the president be asking Ukraine for favors if he's colluding with Russia, if he's a Russian puppet, when Russia and Ukraine are enemies? Why doesn't anybody call that into question? And the fact that the whistleblower, quote unquote, is from the CIA. It's not someone from his own staff, his White House. It's from somebody from the CIA. The CIA, yeah, the ones that did Timber Sycamore, the ones where they armed Al Qaeda. Those guys, CIA, the torture people. Gina Haspel, head of the CIA right now, is a known torturer, and she destroyed tapes of torture happening in a Thai prison. She destroyed evidence. She knows full well that we're fucking... Her nickname is Bloody Gina Haspel, okay? It's a goddamn torturer. That's who Trump put in as our head of the CIA, okay? And you're saying, oh, he's compromised by the Russians? He's compromised, right? Why? It doesn't even make sense. Also, one of the things that came up, okay, about Ukraine, the conversation was about two things. It was about him investigating the start of Russiagate in general, and that the Democrats may have reached out to the Ukrainians for dirt on Trump, and he just wants to know if he could find something. That's probably what's getting them shit in their pants. The other thing, this whole Biden thing, that's fucking bullshit. Hunter Biden got a $50,000 a month job on a Ukrainian oil energy board or whatever. And then Biden was like, hey, you better stop this corruption investigation or we'll stop this money. And they're like, okay. So Trump was like, hey, why don't we reopen that investigation and see what that was all about? And that's the big hubbub. The corruption is that it's the attempt to reinvestigate former corruption. That's what the corruption... See, all of this seems so dumb. Meanwhile, you know what you could impeach the guy on? Fucking Yemen. You could impeach him on Yemen. You know why? Because, first of all, that's an illegal war. Okay? Secondly, the war is being perpetrated against citizens. Well documented. Children. Okay? They're bombing the fuck out of kids. Okay? Kids, people, because they want to hurt the fuck out of these rebels. So, because the rebels, they consider are terrorists, and the terrorists are hiding amongst the people, so we just kill the people. That's the answer, right? Those weapons that we are selling them, we as in the United States. United States, by the way, deals 50% of the arms in the world. 50% of the weapons in the world are sold by the United States. Can you see why anti-war is a conflict of interest? Why we're in a forever war? How all this keeps the economy going, especially once we start fracking and all that oil's got to go somewhere. And guess what uses oil like a motherfucker? War. Huh. What is it good for? Keeping the economy going. Yeah. Especially if it's 50% of the world's war profits are coming to us. You know what I mean? Like, if healthcare was profitable, if healing people, feeding people was profitable, we'd be all up in that. We'd be like 50% of the world is fed by us, bitch. Yeah. Having fucking feast, forever feast. Feasts everywhere, unending. We've had the same. Can you imagine if there's a giant feast in the Middle East instead of a war? Right? And it's just like, we've been feasting for 19 years straight. We are so fat. All of Iraq is fat. They're fat as fuck. They're just all on rascals. They're just all... they're just... We could be putting McDonald's everywhere instead of bombing them. We could be doing this. That was originally the whole thing about American cultural imperialism. We were going to be throwing fucking Marvel movies and McDonald's and Nikes everywhere, and people are going to get fat, fucking entertained as fuck, and the money's going to be rolling in. Instead, we're killing everybody, bombing them, we're shooting them. With our taxpayer money goes into making these weapons. They sell these weapons. They sell these weapons to the governments perpetrating the wars. They sell these weapons to rebels fighting against the governments. They sell these weapons basically to anybody who's buying. They sell them to both sides. We arm our enemies, and then we fight them. So that's, we sell more weapons again to the people fighting the guys who we sold the weapons to, right? And then, of course, companies like Halliburton, they're also contractors. So after all that's just destroyed, guess who gets to come in, clear the rubble, put in some roads, do all that just so we could bomb it again? Halliburton. Yeah. Compare that with the Chinese, who are doing all the building things without the fucking bombing things. And yeah, the Chinese aren't great. They banned South Park because they made fun of Xi Jinping in China and the Winnie the Pooh thing. You can't do Winnie the Pooh in China. He looks too much like the president. And it's very cute. He really does. But now I've been banned from China. Hong Kong, of course, Hong Kong. People are starting to support Hong Kong publicly, and that's getting them banned by China. The Chinese do not want to hear shit about Hong Kong. For 3 months now in Hong Kong, hundreds of thousands of protesters getting the shit kicked out of them. If you see any of this footage, it looks like fucking Braveheart. It's like motherfuckers running at each other with sticks, just beating it, because guns aren't. It's just like whole shit's. Any credit. Here's the credit I give the Chinese government is they haven't come in with guns. They could have come in and just mowed everyone down. They're just hoping this thing blows over, but they're having a hard time, It's starting to spill out into the rest of the world. People are starting to support them. People are starting to see that people, like kids, are laying their fucking lives on the line, getting their heads cracked in for what? For freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom. The very things that we are crying, yelling about. Right now, it's going to be about Halloween costumes. We're going to go through a whole thing of Halloween with the woke sides. Like, but here's how you do a right Halloween costume without the blackface. And then the other side's got, I'm going to put on blackface, ha ha ha, to be a troll or because I'm actually racist. I really doubt they're actual racists even. I really do. I mean, I'm sure there are some, but honestly, at this point, racism is just the worst thing you could be in our society. So that's just what people become. That's like people becoming Napoleon. A lot of people do become Napoleon. Why? Because he was the fucking worst dude you could be. Everybody hated Napoleon. He tried to conquer Europe. He fucked everything up. And so, you got to be a fucking grandstanding, big-headed motherfucker. You got to have a Napoleon complex, right, to do that. So I feel like racism's the same. Racism's the thing we say, like, oh, you can't do, it's bad, it's taboo. So when someone wants to be bad, when they want to go Joker, right? In the movies, Joker is somebody who turns to violence, right? But in our society now, Joker, for us, somebody who becomes racist. Sure, we got the violent types, we got the shooters, we got all of them. I mean, that's there. That's you don't even. That's not even the issue. I mean, does the forever war and the fact that we have a military-industrial complex that's sort of embedded itself in our entire lives, and all we really do is sell arms to 50% of the world, that might have an effect on the psyche of a country, the psyche of some young men, in terms of what to do. Isn't it weird? They say you can't have guns and butter, and part of that is an economic thing. You can't have guns, you can't have good food, you got to ration if you have the war. But we figured it out. We have guns and butter and fucking Netflix. You know what I mean? We got guns, butter, and drones. We got everything. So what's going to give? Well, perhaps the psyche of our country, perhaps the soul, perhaps the very innocence or the values that we claim that we have. The one thing about prohibition, back in the day when they made alcohol illegal, people would say what this ends up doing is creating hypocrites out of all of us because everybody's still drinking. Now you just have this law where on the surface people don't, but then underneath you do. And so fuck the cops, right? The cops drink. It undermines everything. It undermines authority, undermines values, undermines all of that. We could argue that that was maybe the beginning of the 20th century cynicism of America, right? That's when gangsters started coming. That's when the anti-heroes started coming up, because then the law was corrupt, right? I think with the military-industrial complex running everything, it's the same shit, It's hard not to be cynical, hard not to be jaded, hard not to be like, yeah, we're out there fighting for freedom. Yeah, right. No, we're murdering for profit. That's really what we're doing. And here we are as Americans believing we're the good guys. We're the good guys. We stand for freedom. We stand for, we're helping everybody out there. We stand for democracy. But meanwhile, we know in the back of our minds, it's our tax dollars going toward buying weapons that kill children. And that's just the weapons. Never mind the embargoes. Never mind the economic shit we do that starve children, right? In some ways, I think that's far worse. As a parent, you want to see your kid slowly die, or you want them to just die right away, It's a tough choice to make, but I think after a while, I don't want to see the kids suffer every day, okay? Maybe just end it, all right? And that's bleak. That's bleak, but that's us. Brought to you by us, a nation of peace and freedom. Huh? Freedom. That's us. Woo! Okay, I know, that's heavy. Bit heavy this episode. A little longer than I thought. I didn't know I would rant on and on half an hour for the poor people being killed by our weapons. And it really, what am I, I don't hate this country. I'm an American. The meager tax money I pay goes to killing people. So a few cents here and there going to Tomahawk missiles. I mean, what can I do? My family is a product of war. They're refugees from a war perpetuated by this military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us about. And yet here I am, ranting free. I'm pretty much free to say this. I would be, if I was in China, I would be imprisoned. If I was anywhere, even South Korea, I probably wouldn't do well criticizing the government over their foreign policy. Probably not a great idea. But here, I do recognize the fact that I am free and able to do it. Okay, so I am thankful, grateful for that. Grateful to be an American. Thankful, great. Sure, don't have health care, but I'm doing all right. I fucking eat fried chicken. You know what I'm saying? I have weed to smoke. Like, I'm okay. I'm not dying. I don't have health care. But it were something to happen, it'd be catastrophic. Sure, but that's, hey, we're living by the seat of our pants. Can't rely on the state to help me out. I gotta pull myself up by my bootstraps. Bootstraps that will eventually create tax revenue going towards bombing the shit out of other people trying to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Actually, people who probably are making our bootstraps in factories. But we bomb those factories so that we can rebuild them for peace. And that's where we're at. I mean, look, there's an election coming. They're trying to impeach Trump. Democrats, Republicans, election. Who's going to win? President, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden. Who's it going to be? Blue, red, all that stuff going on, right? Real competition, real challenge, real fight going on between two parties. The future of this country will be decided. But then ask yourself this: why isn't either side anti-war? How come there's no anti-war side? How come we have a two-party system and both parties are pro-war? How is that? Then do we truly live in a two-party system? Seems like both parties are in the pocket of warmongers, and that's if you bring up the fact that we got to stop war, people go, oh, whoa, we're doing it over there so they don't come over here. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to keep it over there, keep the fight over. Yeah, you're killing people over there and making more people angry at us so we can keep fighting them over there. You don't think some of them are going to get through? That's kind of like what happened in 9/11. And it, all right, I could go on and on, of course. But just remember this: military-industrial complex. We were warned, right? We were warned about it by Ike. So I like Ike. He tried to do his thing. But unfortunately, we didn't listen. And here we are, right? Where Congress, the military-industrial congressional complex, is attempting to unseat the president, put in somebody that, will be a better face for the war machine. Obama was an excellent face for the war machine. Like, nobody hardly criticizes Obama's foreign policy, and it could be argued that he made it worse. He actually made it worse, right? I mean, we're bombing 7 countries instead of just 2. I mean, that seems worse. We're in Yemen. He started it. This whole Yemen thing, that was under Obama. It was in 2015, okay? It's rough out there, but we're lucky. We're lucky, but think about it from the other side. Looking at us Americans getting fat. To them, we're rich, even though we're not. We're all struggling. We're seconds away from eating cat food, but that's fucking, at least we're not getting droned. And that's what the rest of the world, so that, we sell 50% of the world's arms. That means the other side, they're getting the pointy end of the stick. You know what I mean? And fucking, they see that Stark Enterprises, they see that fucking Stark Industries logo, and they're like, we're coming for Tony Stark. That's, and that's inevitable. So, well, that's rough. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it can change. Maybe shit can change. I mean, I don't put any faith in Trump or the government or whatever, but I do have faith in people, like the people in Hong Kong, right? People in Iraq. Like, people are fucking protesting, getting up. Maybe some shit will go down. It doesn't have to be war, It doesn't have to be a forever war. Maybe somehow we'll vote in somebody like Tulsi. That's not going to happen. Nobody wants to vote in there's no weight behind any anti-war candidate. So the only hope is for the people. Maybe the people are going to fucking just say, fuck it. We got to go anti-war, guys. Maybe there will be an anti-war movement like there was in Vietnam. Vietnam was only like 12 years, guys. That's the thing. And look how fucked up we are from that. Look how there was an anti-war movement. It almost tore the country apart, right? None of that shit's happening, okay? None of it. I don't know. I ask myself this all the time. Like, why? Why? How come it's still going and it seems to be fine? There's not no anti-war voices in this country. I mean, there are, but they're like fringe, marginal, right? The Alex Joneses, Ron Paul, like they're all demonized, called racists. Yeah, I don't know. If you're not a globalist, you're a racist, right? Globalist is a dog whistle for Jew. You know, I don't know, man. All I know is that there's a lot of killing going on, and we are perpetrating it, and we make money doing it, and that's kind of, I don't know. It's almost like a harebrained scheme to make money. Hey, what if we start a gun company and then just go around getting people to shoot each other, and then we'd make more money? Yeah, and be like, yeah, that sounds great. Exactly. Oh my God, I'm still going. Okay, I should stop. I apologize. Hey, there's a lot to fucking talk about in the military-industrial complex, okay? You know, and at least I'm talking to you guys about it and not strangers. I don't know, you know? I don't know. But it's a military-industrial. It's so absurd. It's like a harebrained scheme, right? It's like, what if we could make a killing? And it was like, oh my God, you got it, right? If only we could make money saving lives, right? Right? Fucking, I don't know. Anyways, I don't mean to get all dark. Oh, geez, the whole thing's been dark, right? Military-industrial complex. If anything, though, we're okay. And guys, since we're okay, I think we gotta just give it up for us. Yay, us. Huh? Good for us. You know, sure, genocide, slavery is the sort of way this country got started, but it's a great country. We're moving toward something bigger, greater. We're moving forward. Maybe toward another black president. I don't know. But I think we can do it, guys. We can do it. Because otherwise I would be in a camp right now, you know? Like, that's where I have hope. Like, why aren't I in a camp right now? I could be next year, but right now I'm not. And so I'm thankful for that. And because of that, I'm just doing what I can, right? This is very little, but at least I'm trying to do something. More than fucking Rachel Maddow, right? She's going on about this Ukraine, Yemen. Anybody? Nobody. All right. Well, anyways, thanks for listening, guys. Please follow me on the socials. You know, that matters. Instagram, Twitter. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at RojanKim. Follow me online at RojanKim.com. Sign up for my email list. Find out when I'm doing stand-up. Fucking tell people. Tell the comedy clubs. I want Rojan Smith. Rojan Smith. Holy shit. Rojan Kim. Should change my name to Rojan Smith. Maybe I get booked more. Huh? That's what it is. They're discriminating against the Kim. If I was Rojan Smith, I'd be everywhere right now. No, RojanKim.com. Follow me online. Thank you for listening.